Welcome to the Business Legends Podcast, where we interview business leaders and entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their successes, pump up your inspiration, and meet the people that make change happen. I'm the host of the show, Reese Arlen, and I don't have a co-host today, so we have Mr. Green Backpack. Christian, unfortunately, was doing something very important, and I know he's so bummed that he's missing out on this episode. But we have a good one for you today. By the way, before we get started recording, I didn't even mention this to you, but I wanted to tell you that I have a Band-Aid on my forehead. I don't think that I'm Nelly the rapper. I just I took a little slip, trip, and fall, and needless to say, Mr. Clumsy Reese, that's what happens. But today we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the business legend, Mario Mendigana with Elite Touch Cleaning. Mario, thank you so much for joining me and Mr. Green Backpack this morning.
Thank you, Reese. I'm very happy to be here. I really appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into it. Tell us about Elite Touch Cleaning, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how you came into business and some entrepreneurship.
So the company is a commercial cleaning company. We do only commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So we do restaurants, clubs, hotels, offices, buildings, medical buildings, industrial condominiums, and we also are at the airport.
Okay, amazing. Now, you have the commercial focus, and just out of curiosity, did you ever think about doing residential or anything like that, or just always commercial, always business?
I actually started it when I opened the company. I tried to go in business. I tried to do a little bit of the residential part,
Mm-hmm.
but it was too much of micromanaging, and
Sure.
it was a headache. Going into a personal side with people
Mm-hmm.
into their homes is another beast.
Of course.
And to be at the size that we are today, we would have to have probably 4 or 5 times the amount of accounts that we have today. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. We often talk. We've had several people that are in the construction realm. Eric Powell is the first one that comes to mind. He's a great friend and Artisan Signs and Graphics, and they do signage. And most of the signage, if not all, is commercial. And one of the things that we think about is not only the size of the accounts, but the size of the jobs and how much you need to manage in order to be successful with it. So I always like to ask people, why this, not that, and why they chose, in your case, commercial versus residential, and so on and so forth. So let's go back in time a little bit. You moved to the United States 21 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, in April it's going to be 21 years.
Okay, April. So you have an anniversary coming up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your anniversary can drink legally next month. So there you go.
There you go. Yeah, that's a very, very nice way to put it.
Yeah, right on. And what we were talking about before the show is that you barely spoke English at all before you moved here. Is that correct?
Nothing actually. I mean, I was able to say thank you, and that's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's a good place to start. Those are good words to learn. It's probably not the first words that I would learn if I learned a foreign language. But so tell me about that, what that journey was like, and ultimately how you ended up here.
To make the long story short, somebody told me that Charlotte was good.
Okay.
Somebody in my city. I'm originally from Ecuador, Guayaquil. My mom contacted an aunt. This aunt had a neighbor. This neighbor had a brother here in Charlotte.
Wow.
So I was able to make the connection there. I was able to get the phone number to this guy. So I called him from Ecuador. I said, I'm going to Charlotte. Can you pick me up at this bus station? He said, sure, I can do that. So then I went to Miami, stayed for 1 day. Then I bought a ticket on the Greyhound to Charlotte. That was 18 hours, I remember.
Wow.
I got here to Charlotte. The guy went to the bus station, picked me up, took me to a neighbor, introduced me to a townhouse. They were renting a room, and that was basically it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you stay in connection with this person, or he basically just picked you up at the airport?
He retired. He went back to Ecuador. We are
Okay.
pretty good friends now.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, I didn't know who the guy was.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then after that, I was just looking for a job. No friends, no family.
And you just went with it.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Was there anything particularly in Ecuador or otherwise that made you want a fresh start, or were you just kind of looking to expand your horizons and move somewhere new and different?
I used to work we used to have a family business.
Okay.
We used to have a poultry food, food for chicken.
Yeah.
So we used to have a manufacturer that we make the food and sell it, distribute it around the country.
Mm-hmm.
So after a few years, that was back in 2001, because of the economy, politics, and all those things, we unfortunately had to close the business.
Gotcha.
then I found myself without a job. I
Yeah.
didn't want to grab a newspaper
Yeah.
and look for a job. So I told my mother, I remember saying, I'm going to the US for 3 months, work a little bit and come back, see what happened. Then after 3 months, after I got here 3 months in, uh, I wasn't doing much really. So then I said 6 months.
Right.
Then after 6 months, I said 1 year. But a year in, I was already working as a supervisor in the cleaning.
Okay.
So I saw the opportunity. And I told my mother, I'm not going back.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm
and
sure
then,
that was an interesting conversation.
correct.
Yeah.
No, she actually encouraged me to stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I know we talked about this a little bit off air, but for our listeners, why cleaning? Did the opportunity just come? Did you fall back into it, or was it something that you liked, that you felt compelled to do?
No, not really. That was just one of my first job. It was a part-time uptown in one of the big buildings, and I just happened to fall into it.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started as a cleaner, then as a supervisor. I was promoted 6 months into the job. I was promoted as supervisor. Talking about the English, I remember they gave me these big black radios.
Yeah.
That security was gonna communicate with me.
Right.
And I remember, gosh, I don't want to lose my job because of the English.
Right.
But my very little basic English that I brought from Ecuador was the numbers, for example. And
Okay.
these people, the security people, used to call me and say, hey, something on the floor 25, for example. And the rest of it, I couldn't understand.
Right.
So I remember going to the 25 floor.
25.
and
Figured out what was going on.
check it wall to wall, make sure everything was fine. And it could have been a little paper on outside of the elevator.
Right.
But I checked the whole
Yeah.
floor just to make sure everything was fine because I didn't want to get fired.
Wow. What was it like? I can only imagine. You didn't speak the language, and so what was it like learning it, and how did you end up, kind of progressing not only in your career but personally, and learning the language and so on and so forth.
I didn't
You're
have
sick
time.
of checking wall to wall, probably.
Yeah, well, practicing.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time to go to the CPCC because I was working 2 jobs during the day porter, and the night as a supervisor, and weekend I was doing project work. So basically, it was as a day porter, I was checking 6 buildings throughout the day. So from building to building, I remember buying books and just learning.
Yeah. Just reading while you were walking between buildings and
That
stuff.
was it. I mean, and the little TV that I was watching, it was everything in English with the closed captions. All the music, no Spanish music. It was everything in English. And it was hard at the beginning because
Sure.
I remember trying, when I said to myself, I said, Mario, you got to learn, so you got to speak up. And then I was trying to. There were moments that I didn't even know what I was saying.
Sure.
Yeah. So
I can imagine.
It was tough. But, I mean, time went by, and I was blessed enough that I picked it really quick. I would say probably it took me a good 3-4 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And the thing about language is that there's no, sure pathway on it. Some people pick up English in 3 months, and other people never pick it up.
Especially kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's I don't know. I can only imagine what it was like. So you're supervising for a cleaning company at the time, and when did Elite Touch Cleaning come about, and how did you decide to kind of go out on your own and do that?
So I got here in 2002. I would say probably 5 years. After 5 years, I decided to open my own business. But of course, I didn't have no clients. I didn't have no money, nothing. So I was depending on my 2 jobs. So I opened the company, and I started working for another big player, cleaning restaurants in the middle of the night. So I was working from 7 to 3:30 in one job, and from 5 to 11, 12 in another job, cleaning restaurants.
Wow.
About 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
I did that for about a year, and of course I was getting sick because I wasn't sleeping.
Yeah. No sleep.
So then I was able to gain a little bit of income. So then I quit my daytime job for me to be able to sleep around 10, 11 o'clock. And then I kept my supervising job for another 2 years. I would say in 2010 is when I decided to go on my own. And here I am after 13 years.
Wow. That's incredible. I can only imagine what what it was like to work all those hours. Before the show, we were talking about how you didn't really have any free time, so you didn't socialize very much, and you also just kind of learned later in life to pick up some hobbies and do some things for your personal time.
Yeah.
So going back to that year, where you're working, I mean, gosh, based on that math, it seems like 15 plus, sometimes 18 hours a day type of thing. Hardly time to eat, hardly time to sleep. Do you feel like that particular year, working that much, working those hours was critical to your success? And can you kind of speak to that grind of a year that you had?
Yes, absolutely. I like to think of I didn't have a choice.
Okay.
It was make it or make it,
Yeah.
right? And I needed to put the hours because that was my only choice. I didn't have line of credit. I didn't have money, so I was literally living off my credit cards. And the little money I was making with the two jobs, I was paying the 2, 3 guys that were working for me.
Right.
All right, so I did that for about 3, 4 years until I was able to gain a little bit more income and go on my own. But yeah, I didn't have a choice. I mean, at the beginning, you have to do what you have to do, and then after a few years, I would say probably 2013, 14, uh, I knew that I needed to do something. I knew that there was something else that needs to be done. That's when I joined EO. So, and it made a huge difference.
Yeah. Wow. We've had several guests, especially the last 10 or so. I think probably 8 of them are connections that we've made through EO. EO is Entrepreneurs Organization for those of you that are listening. And can you speak to how that helped your business and kind of what they? Of course, we know that you have your groups and things in EO, but can you speak to what what they kind of made you realize and what they pushed you to do in order to grow?
So in 2014, when I grew, to join the organization, you have to have $1 million in revenue. And I had just passed it. I think it was like $1 million, $80,000, something like that. And going from 0 to 1 million, I'm not gonna say it was easy, but it wasn't as hard. From going to 1 to 2, that was very painful
Wow.
because it was literally another guy and myself.
Right.
And I was doing from invoicing to everything else.
Yeah, doing a whole lot of everything.
Yes, so that's when I realized that I needed help, and I didn't know how. So joined the organization and gained the experience, and listened to these guys that had already, have 10, $20 million companies, and it wasn't only inspirational, but it was also a very nice learning curve.
Sure.
For me.
Yeah.
And I also had mentors and coaches along the way. So,
wow, yeah, it's incredible. I think of mentorships, and well, first off, I believe that success leaves clues, right? So if you see somebody that's very successful, for example, if I wanted to start a cleaning company tomorrow, by the way, I don't, just so you know, but
it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of
absolutely
food for everybody.
I always say the Charlotte is a big pool.
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. I would not be good at it, I promise. But you'd be the first person I'd call, just because we have that relationship. But I feel like when you reach out to people that have been there, done that, and just like this show, learning from their successes, learning from their mistakes, you can kind of get ahead a little bit quicker than if you try to just do everything by yourself all at the same time, know. So going into Elite Touch Cleaning, you made a really great point. You said that it was harder to go from 1 to 2 than it was to go, to expand as much as you have. Do you still feel that way now that your company's even larger than that, or do you think that there were certain what I would call friction points where you reach a certain revenue and it's kind of hard to break that plateau or something like that?
Yeah, I call that ceilings.
Ceilings, yep.
Yeah, yes. I mean, there's a point that you hit a ceiling. From 0 to 1, from 1 to 2, there is another one. From 2 to 3, 3.5, there is another one, and we still get a long way to go. I mean, we have made a tremendous progress, but back then we didn't have anything.
Right.
Again, it was just another guy and myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right now we have 6, 7 people in the office. There's somebody, back then I was doing everything. Right now, I don't even know how to make an invoice.
Okay.
You know, because somebody else is in charge of that. Somebody
Right.
else is in charge of sales. Somebody else is in charge of operations,
Yeah.
recruiting, and everybody has their own positions, and everybody is important as the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was able to put everything in place throughout these years, and again, that's because of the help and the experience that I gained from others.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go from kind of being a jack of all trades, master of none, to a master of one thing, and
Correct.
don't even know how to do some of the other stuff. We have a joke at BMSG. We don't let Christian touch campaigns because whenever he does, he just. Well, I told you before the show, he's very scatterbrained, so
Yeah.
they end up looking like an explosion hit them, and we don't know what's happened. So we actually haven't let him touch a campaign in like 4 years now. So
Yeah, I mean, the secret is to hire people that they master their trades.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So getting back to talking to up and coming entrepreneurs. So one of the things that we speak about on the show is, if somebody's kind of making that choice, for you, you said you could succeed or you could succeed. There was no other option. Was there anything, getting back into that mindset? I guess this would be 16 years ago, plus or minus. Is there anything that you wish you had told yourself or wish you knew back then that if you were to hit the reset button and start all over again, that would help you, develop a company now?
Uh, Going back to 2012, uh, uh, I'm part of the Latin American Chamber of Commerce,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in the board for 6 years. Right now, I'm back in the board. But back then in 2010, 11, 12, I was just a member. And I remember they opened this business program. It was called Business Builder,
Okay.
and I was the first in the first class. One thing that program taught me is that I didn't know everything.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I remember getting out of the program and hiring a coach
Mm-hmm.
because I needed to make so many changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say education. If I would be able to go back in time, I would have taken sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, education. And since then, since 2012, every single year I've been to some type of business program. If it's either leadership, operations, numbers, anything,
Mm-hmm.
every year I'm in it.
Yeah, and kind of digging deeper into that, how do you? And this is just probably my own curiosity, but how do you choose what you want to continue your education in? I feel like you started off cleaning 20 hours a day, so you probably don't need to go to like a cleaning convention or something that teaches you how to clean better. Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe there's new technology, but how do you go about choosing? What area you need to improve in?
Uh, that is a hard question. I really don't know how to answer that, to be honest. Uh, whatever makes you better as a
Yeah.
person, whatever makes you better as a leader, whatever the company is, whether it's a marketing, cleaning, construction. I mean, if you want to specialize yourself in one specific trade, for example, construction, how to do electrical work, then yes, you will have to go and get a certification for electrical, right?
Right.
But if you want to learn how to manage your people in the construction company with all those different trades, then you're gonna have to go to leadership, and different trades that help you to manage the people.
Sure.
In my case, that's the route that I took.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be specialized on how to do maintenance floors. However, I know how to do it, but I didn't get any certifications because that's something that I didn't want to be specialized on.
Right.
I wanted to know how to manage people. I wanted to know how to grow the company, and that's the route I took.
Yeah. Do you when you're signing up for these programs, do you typically sign up for like programs or like university classes, or do you have an opinion on those types of things?
Right now is university classes. For example, I've been with EO to Harvard, went to Dartmouth
Okay.
twice. Took also another one with Stanford.
You're just knocking out all the Ivy Leagues, by the way.
I'm going to MIT this year.
Yeah.
It's a 3-year program.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it's incredible that you are where you are, and yet you still focus on continuing education. Over and over again, Christian and I, marketing for companies, we we see companies that don't adapt, if you will. And God knows there's a lot of changes in every market, and they don't adapt. They just try to stick with what they know, and they don't try to learn and continue their education and their knowledge. And eventually the bell tolls, and they start to curve back downwards, so to speak. So it's an incredible insight to continue your education and whatever else type of thing. Out of curiosity, what's the program that you're doing at MIT for 3 years?
It's about leadership and growth.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, it's a 3-year program.
Gotcha. And is it an online program, or how does it work exactly?
It's 1 week in the campus.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 1 week every year, and out of that week, I think we're gonna form groups,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna meet. I think it's like every month or every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of a accountability group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible. Do you think that excuse me? Do you think that non-educational entities have these things like EO, for instance? Do you think that it serves the same way, or do you think it's just completely different based on the organization?
Non-educational organizations like what? What is exactly you referring to?
So, the program that you're doing through MIT, it seems like you're doing a leadership program, and then forming groups, and then kind of like creating an accountability group with that. Do you think that there are other organizations such as EO, or maybe others, that can serve that purpose, or do you think there's a different benefit since it's hosted by a campus and educational atmosphere?
There's a tons of organizations that they have educational programs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if I'm not mistaken, here in the city there are others that there are not as big as the one that I'm mentioning,
Sure.
the MIT. But yeah, for somebody, especially when they want to start off a business, there are programs that are literally can teach you how to open a company and then scale
Mm-hmm.
from there. Resources are everywhere.
Right.
Definitely. For all type of businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Goodness, I haven't been to higher education since I graduated in 2014, but I feel like half the things that I learned in school is like on YouTube now. But
Yes, absolutely. YouTube is a very nice resource. Online right
Mm-hmm.
now, you literally don't have to go to university to get a degree. You can learn every trade online right now.
Yeah, the world's changing, man. It's very interesting. Well, we're about done with our time today, but before we get out of here, I do want to ask you. So let's say that I wanted to start a business tomorrow. It doesn't have to be cleaning. I'm just any business, What advice do you think you'd give to somebody like that was in the position that you were in? They were working, and then something itched in the inside of their ear, and they decided that they wanted to become an entrepreneur and do their own thing. What advice do you think you would give somebody like that, no matter what the business is?
Consistency and perseverance. There were moments, many moments that I was like, God, do I really need this?
Mm-hmm.
Do I really need this? Perhaps I can find a job with better pay, be stable, grab my check at the end of the month. This life, the entrepreneurial life, is not for everyone. Thank God it paid off for me,
Yeah.
but it's hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard at the beginning. At the beginning, it's hard. Just consistency, perseverance. If somebody tells you, no, you're not going to be able to do it, don't listen. Just keep going. And by failing and standing up and keep going, that's how you're going to learn how not to make those mistakes.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good advice. Absolutely. So before we get going, we always like to close out. This is where I stall, by the way, and try to think of something if you listen to previous shows. But I like to close off with a fun or funny question. I'm really drawing a blank here. Usually this is where Christian helps me. So what do you think there, Mr. Green Backpack? It's Green Backpack's not helping me. Well, here's just a totally off the wall question, I guess. So you speak Spanish and English.
Yep.
So if you were going to learn a third language, what would it be and why?
French, I would say.
Okay, and why?
Yeah, I've always loved that language. Actually, I took 4 levels in my country
Wow.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't speak the language right now.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you can go back to school and learn it when you get some time on your
One
hands.
day, yes, one day definitely is on my bucket list.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You answered that so quickly. You knew that answer immediately.
Yes, yes.
Very good. Well, Mario, thank you so much for joining me today. Me and Mr. Green Backpack. Thank you for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you again for the invite.
Absolutely. And we'll see you soon.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks.